Good morning and welcome to Citizen Extra. I am Ann Kiguta and we're taking you across the country where news is happening. This hour we're talking about the debate versus the Meet the People strategy that the presidency has chosen to employ. And we're live for you in Eldoret, in Kisumu and in Mombasa, where very shortly we'll be crossing over to get views from you on the news. And joining me in studio shortly, I'll be speaking to Mark Bichachi, Danstan Omari and Charles Kipkule, who are political and governance experts. This morning we're talking strategy. Was it the right move for the presidency, and what does it portend as the campaign enters its home stretch? We're talking very shortly to them, but first let's take you to Eldoret now, where Wanyama is meeting the people and telling us their thoughts on the debate versus the presidency's Meet the People strategy. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Anne, and a very good morning to you. Here in Eldoret town, where I am right now, is a market where people come by and sell their goods, especially foodstuffs. And here, Anne, people have left their business just to come and express their views on Citizen Extra. We would like to talk to a few of them and to tell us what is their view on this issue, where the president is saying he would like to go direct to the people to talk to them rather than coming to the debate on TV. So, and without wasting time, let me just talk to one of them. Pengine maoni yako ni yapi? Rais anasema yeye anataka akuje kwenu kuongea na nyinyi lakini sio TV.
I'm very happy, Anne. I'm very happy to meet your voice in this morning. Hapa tunaongea mambo ya Uhuru Kenyatta, na huyo mzee amefanya kazi, na vile ameongea na amesema afadhali akuje miti Wanjiko, sababu Wanjiko ndiye anamvote kwa kura, na hiyo mzee amefanya kazi. Hata tunamuombea mengi, Mungu amsaidie arudi miaka mingine 5 ndio amalize kazi yake. Have a nice day.
Kwa majina naitwa Bernard Magas, mimi ni mfanyabiashara hapa Eldoret. Maoni yangu ni hii. Mimi nimeona ya kwamba debate, kwenda kwa debate haibadilishi chochote. Rais akuje kwa mwananchi, sababu sisi wananchi ndio tuko na kura. Kwenda kwa debate, hiyo debate wakati yake imeisha. Hao viongozi wote wamekuwa kwa uongozi na wako fanya change yoyote. Rais Uhuru Kenyatta amekuwa kwa uongozi muda wa miaka 5 na Kenya mzima inaona ya kwamba anastahili miaka ingine 5. Maoni yangu nasema ya kwamba debate haiwezi badilisha chochote. Debate haiwezi badilisha chochote kwa sababu gani? Mimi kama wananchi kwa kawaida nishaamua. Sisi kama wananchi wa Uasin Gishu tumeshaamua na hatutaki mambo ya debate haisaidii chochote. Asante.
Thank you. Maoni yako ni yapi?
Kwa majina yangu ni Jenny Mbone kutoka Maragoli, mkaaji wa Usingishi town Eldoret. Maoni yangu iko hivi. Tunataka president yetu akuja hapa kwa macho tumuone, akuja kwa wananchi. Maneno ya debate ulikataa kuenda, kwa maana unaokopa shauri ya magazeti ati unapigwa picha. Lakini uache kuokopa, ukuja kwa mwananchi. Sisi ni wakaaji ya Eldoret, county ya Mandago. Na Mandago tena ni mzuri, tunampenda kwa Baluya na chini atakataa.
Thank you. No, yeah, not talking about it.
Kwa majina naitwa Christine. Mimi nafikiri kuna umuhimu ya debate. Sasa nafikiri mheshimiwa, usiogope kwenda debate. Kuna wale wenye watakupata kwa upande ya debate na kuna wale wenye utatembea. Nafikiri utasikia kila mwananchi ukienda kwa face to face, hautakutana na kila mwananchi. Sasa nafikiri kuna maana ya debate. Wewe kutana na wananchi kwa debate na tena ukutane na wananchi face to face ndio upate wote.
Thank you. And if I can come here, if you can come closer, finally. I will hold it for you.
Aya. Kwa maoni yangu, mimi nasema hivi. Hii ni nchi imeendelea kimawazo ya watu na kimaendeleo. Kukuwa na debate ni kitu ya maana kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya. So sisi tunataka kama Uhuru Kenyatta kama rais yetu angekuja, tuweze kumsikiza yale yenye ametenda, achifike pale tuweze kuelewa ya kwamba kweli haya yenye upinzani inasema ni uongo ama ni ukweli. Hivyo tu.
Thank you. And those are some of views from residents here from Eldoret main market. And the question many people are asking themselves is, there are only remaining 12 days to go. Will really President Uhuru manage to traverse the whole country, just meeting people face to face to talk to them? Over to you, Anne.
very much, Wanyama. Some great views there from Eldoret. Let's cross over now to Kisumu, where Laura Tieno is standing by, also listening to your views on whether the president should have attended the debate, or is the Meet the People strategy better, Laura?
Yeah, very good morning to you back at the Communication Center, and here in the county of Kisumu we are on the streets to pick opinions of the people concerning the debate, what the relevance of the debates that were held. Of course, we had the presidential debate and the presidential running mates debate also, which actually the running mates debate did not go quite well, was not quite a success, but the presidential debate at least had some of the aspirants, the candidates, showing up. So maybe if I could talk to some of the people here to tell us what they think. Excuse me, sir, do you think there is the need for us to continue having this debate, or should the candidates go to meet the people one-on-one?
Ningependa kusema kwamba debate ni kitu cha muhimu sana, na ningependa kusi wakubwa wetu saa yote debate ikiitishwa inatakikana waende kwa debate, wa interact na wananchi wa Kenya ili watoe maoni vile wanaendesha hii uchumi ya Kenya yetu ambayo tunayo sasa.
Na kuhusiana na hiyo debate, unaona kama inawasaidia ama afadhali waende wapige campaign huko nje kutafuta kura?
Yenyewe debate inasaidia sana juu kwa rally yenyewe kuna wengi ambao hawaendi kwa rally, na unapata kama most of the times kuna wengine ambao wako kwa shughuli kwa kazi yao, na ikifika mambo ya debate pengine ni saa ya usiku vile baba Raila wetu alienda kwa debate, ulipata kama wengi wetu tayari asharudi kwa kazi, wako kwa runinga wanatazama vile wakubwa wetu wanatoa mapendekezo yao kwa jinsi wataendesha uchumi ya Kenya.
Okay, thank you very much. Sir, could you come here and tell us, please, do you think as a young country we are in a place where this debate can actually translate to actual votes?
Okay. Sorry, my name is Ronald, a resident of Kisumu. By far and wide, I really believe debate really contributes widely to the people being informed. And okay, it's so unfortunate our president could say that debate was not important and that he doesn't regret in any way not attending. That, to me, I think is lacking the point actually. I'd like to quote from one man that I hold a lot of respect for, Nelson Mandela, who said that leaders can engage in a debate frankly and thoroughly, and that at the end of it, both sides emerge closer and stronger, and that you do not have this you don't have this idea where one candidate is so uninformed and so arrogant. Actually, what was displayed was some sort of arrogancy, where actually the presidency was seeing a debate as a waste of time. Actually, he said it was a waste of time. And yet 9-point-something million Kenyans were watching. And this is a president who really who would prefer to go on a social media, which is Facebook, where there is only 2,000 followers, and leaving aside 9-point-something million Kenyans who are ready to watch this thing and who are ready to engage him. It was actually being an engagement between the president and the people. Actually, it was not just the president and his rival, the Honorable Raila Odinga. It was between the president and the Kenyans who are ready to engage him and ask him questions. So this was sort of arrogancy, which actually, as Kenyans and even his own followers were really disappointed. I'm sorry to say. So it wasn't the best thing that was supposed to happen. It was like the presidency was being on an interview. The Kenyans were ready to make him, to make him the CEO of this country. His followers, not the Kenyans actually, his followers were ready to make him a CEO of this country for another term, but he refused to turn up for the interview. And so how do you expect to be given a job when you don't turn up for the interview? It was so sad.
So moving forward, do you think we should continue having these debates complementary to campaigns, or we should just crave one of them?
I really believe moving forward, and actually what was being said that this was, they were saying it was some individuals. Actually, the debate media, it is not some individuals who are organizing this thing. This thing is owned by the medias of Kenya. It was not for some individuals, as they were saying. So moving forward, I really believe in the coming years, this should be one of the conditions for you to vie. You should be put through this kind of process so that Kenyans can engage you. It was kind of a check and balance. It was a sort of accountability. So you need to be accountable. For you to be given this post, you need to be accountable. You need to show Kenyans what have you done with what you are given and what are you going to do if you are given another term. So that accountability was not there.
Yeah, okay. Yes, those are some of the sentiments of the people here concerning the debate, of course, and the campaigns also. They feel that the debate is actually such an important aspect, and we have seen several players come in to hold like gubernatorial debates and also all the way up to the presidential debate. So they still believe that there's still hope for those debates, and they should be a thing that we should be considering in the future. Back to you, studio.
Thanks very much for those views from Kisumu. Let's get some more opinions from Mombasa this morning. Let's listen in.
Sawa. Kwa majina naitwa Juma Hamis Omar, mkazi hapa hapa Mombasa. Mimi sikufurahika vile president hakuenda katika ile debate ambapo yeye ndio kiongozi wa nchi hii ambao alikuwa yafaa kabisa awe pale, tofauti na mwenzake Raila Omolo Odinga. Alihudhuria pale, kila mmoja akaona sera zake, akasema mambo yake, kila mmoja akayasikia, lakini mwenzake Uhuru hakufika, na hatujui sababu ni nini ambao hakufika pale, ambao ni makosa kabisa.
Kwa majina naitwa Sheikh Abdalla Sheikh, mkazi wa Mombasa. Sikuona raha wala sikufurahishwa kwa rais kutofika kwa mjadala wa debate. Mwenzake amefika, imeonekana sera zake, hata amepata nambari ya total ya kura nyingi zaidi. Kwa hivyo si sawa kabisa. Yeye alikuwa ni rais, aoneshe mfano mkubwa sana kufika sehemu kama hiyo, ili kwa wengine pia wamtambue. Asante.
Kwa majina naitwa Isa Hassan. Mimi sikufurahika kwa sababu baba wa taifa mwenyewe hakufika kwenye mjadala ule ambao ulikuwa ukiendelea, ambapo mjadala huo ulikuwa una umuhimu sana yeye kufika. Na kutokana na watu waliofika pale, wengi walikuwa wakitegemea pia watayapata maneno ya baba wa taifa upande mwingine akijielezea pamoja na mambo yake, akiulizwa pia maswali mengine ya kitaifa humu, angeajibu vizuri, watu angewasikia. Lakini sasa watu wengi walishangaa sana kwa ajili ya yeye kutofika, na watu wengi sana aliwavunja moyo kwa ajili yeye hakufika pale, na mpaka saa hii bado amewaacha katika mshangao. Sasa tungejua vipi kwamba yeye angetueleza gani ambalo lilikuwa ni muhimu?
All right, so those are the views from just a sample poll across the country. Let's now listen to the Vice Chair of the Jubilee Party, David Morathe. He appeared on The Big Question yesterday alongside lawyer Kamodho Waiganjo. Let's listen to their views.
Now, a violation of the Constitution, you know, and like it is one of the State of the Nation address. Hello, this is just an arrangement made by private media owners for several reasons, and I don't think that's the ultimate theater of accountability. I don't think it to say that the president disrespected the nation because he didn't appear in a TV debate. It would have been good, but I don't think the ultimate thing is that the ultimate decider of Uhuru's respect for the people of Kenya is whether he appeared on the debate or not. It is about politics, and I think if his political strategist thought there is no value in the debate, respect the man.
Was that a strategy, David?
What debate are we talking about?
Last night's debate.
There was no debate. It was a debacle.
Okay, according to
how do you debate?
So was that a strategy?
How do you debate with yourself? I don't think there was a debate.
Because
it's just like any other interview. You have held one with the thing. I wish you can do one with the president. If it's about espousing his vision. You see, there's a big difference here, Hussein. People need to understand. The president is not a candidate per se. He is a candidate. He is a president. Raila should have gone to debate with his fellow candidates who are looking for the job. When you're interrogating the president, you are asking about his scorecard. There was nobody to compare with. I mean, These are people who are now giving promises of what they intend to do, like they did in 2013, and Kenyans didn't give them the job. So, to a large extent, I think it was a big fiasco, if you ask me. It is not about strategy. It's about the terms of engagement. We have even discussed with the media owners that Wakili here is talking about the process and the procedures. We know how these debates happen in other democracies like the UK and the US, where people engage. You have a debating commission, not a private company. You agree on the rules of engagement, and you agree on the diaries of the participants. In this case, we just woke up to find adverts in the press saying Uhuru Kenyatta is coming on this day, period, finished. It was blackmail. They were trying to force his hand to attend.
You have talked about that several times. The president has, the deputy president has, the Jubilee team.
All right, so that's an excerpt from Hussein Mohammed's interview last night. Let me reintroduce my guests in studio this morning. Mark Bichachi, he's a political strategist. Danson Omari, who's a political scientist, and Charles Kipule, the same. So you're all welcome to the program. I think I've elevated you a little bit, Danson. He's a very analyst. Yes, it's the word I'm looking for. He's a political analyst, not a political scientist. But you're all welcome to the program. So there are various issues here. I think let's begin with the premise that debates are good. I'm sure all of you agree. Debates are good and positive, you know, for a democracy, etc. So that is not the question that we have, but rather whether debates are better than the Meet the People strategy that the presidency is employing. And in a statement that they released yesterday, we talked about having visits to over 30 counties within 12 days, over 400 stops between the president and his deputy, going directly to the people. I think that statement used the word directly 4 or 5 times. We talked about having over 14 radio interviews. If it's about talking to the press, that he's had over 14 radio interviews and intends to speak to 40 more. So let's start with a global question to you all. What do you think in terms of strategy? Is it better to have appeared at the presidential debate as a platform to sell one's policies, or is it better to go to the people directly as the presidency is opting for? Mark.
You know, the reality of the matter is this. When you say you're going directly to the people, the reality is every politician does that. And the point of having a debate is having an opportunity where, number one, you've got a large audience listening to you, and secondly, you're able to articulate your policies to people who've actually been prepared and poised to ask these questions. So the other thing is, a debate is supposed to have the background where the candidate has been trained and prepared to answer all manner of questions that should come up. Now, you can't exclude one from the other. You cannot say that you showed up for the debate and you didn't go out to meet the people, because that's how you end up with 50,000 votes like Dida. That's all you will get. But when you combine the two, then you have a better chance of winning. So you cannot say which one is better. They go hand in hand. It's like choosing between the bridal gown and the ring. Which one do you want at your wedding?
Really, the ring is most important. I think we need to walk away with the ring. Okay, all right, but that's an interesting thought. Danston.
My view is this. The candidate who didn't appear was not the president of this nation. It was a candidate for Jubilee. Jubilee has all the rights to deal with the debate the way they deal with it. The vice chair was seated where I'm sitting today, Murad, and he said it very clearly. He's a president. He's above everybody. He cannot debate with people who do not measure to his standard. Raila cannot debate with Uhuru Kenyatta. Therefore, in Jubilee's mind, we are dealing with a super candidate. To me, that is the greatest height of arrogance to the Kenyans. But to Jubilee, strategically, it serves them. To NASA, they have no business bashing the president for not attending here. But for the sake of citizens of this nation, the president had a moral obligation and duty to address Kenyans, but not to address Jubilee people or address NASA people. So in my position, I stand for the Kenyans that he had a duty to appear and expound on issues that Kenyans want to ask him. When he says he wants to go to town hall and the people saying we want him here, understand very well, the politicians when they come with some goodies. When he appears on TV, there is no money that any voter is going to be given. So that is why people will be saying, no, we want him here, because when he comes here, we get something. Remember those town halls. Many of the people who attend those rallies of NASA and Jubilee are paid up people from those formations. They are the same crowd that moves from Busia to Kericho to all over. So there is no representation.
They're changing T-shirts along the way?
Yeah, people there. Today they will be NASA, tomorrow because they are getting some tokens out of it.
Okay.
So when we talk of a debate, the debate addresses key questions. One, there's the aspect of interrogation. You don't tell us the way the church tells us and we listen and bow down and go out. In a debate, you are interrogated, you are investigated, you are probed. We test some issues. One, temperament. When you're in a NASA rally or a Jubilee rally, people there cannot test your temperament, whether you can be the commander-in-chief of the nation. Number two, how do you think on your feet when questions are being asked? So that is the difference. A debate is not a monologue like the rallies are.
And yet, Damson, I hear you saying two things. That on the one hand, strategically for Jubilee, obviously it is their prerogative.
Yes.
In terms of a Jubilee candidate showing up. And there's been a bit of debate as to who he would have appeared as the Jubilee candidate, as the president. Can he, exclude one from the other? And how does that, inform whether or not he should have showed up, etc. And I'll get into that very shortly. But first, let's get your view, Charles. Debate versus meet the people. Which would have yielded best results?
Well, I think this is like comparing apples and oranges, But I think when you going forward...
Oh, and which do you prefer? I'm kidding.
When you agree which is the orange and which is the apple, then you can agree.
Okay.
But for now, I think what you need to look at critically is the timing of this debate. We are at the home stretch of the campaigns, and really what matters right now is to go and make sure you solidify and consolidate your core support base, because all the work has practically been done. Even a shift in terms of voter behavior right now, it's going to be marginal. And therefore, we all agree that in the Kenyan construct, where the tribe is king, and the consideration that comes, number one, the primary consideration of every voter is looking at their candidates based on that ethnic extraction, it makes more sense to go and interact with them, which is why when I hear that they are slating 400 rallies in 12 days in 30 counties, then measuring that against a debate, a 90-minute debate, then there is greater strategic sense in that. But again, this is not to discount the opportunity that a debate gives, especially being aired at 8 p.m., which is prime time. We have a captive audience of Kenyans. It's being reported that it was around 9.6 million Kenyans. But when you want to interrogate it further, how many people were swayed to make a decision based on the outcome of the debate? In fact, are there issues which came from the debate which are now even sustained narratives that will last up to the day of the elections? The answer is no. The issue is that, well, the excitement of the debate will die off even probably today, tomorrow. Kenya, there is this issue of amnesia. So sustaining that argument really is not making sense. And I think being an incumbent, President Uhuru Kenyatta felt that there is a greater strategic sense in not coming, because you saw even the questions. If I am very sure that if you told Raila Odinga these are the questions you are going to ask you, he may not have showed up at the end of the day, because they were not comfortable questions. And we are not just dealing with an aspirant who is coming like this. We are dealing with a candidate who is the incumbent. So we need to balance the two.
Fair enough. Let's come to that question now of incumbency and candidate, etc. And we've had this back and forth, even before we went on air, as to whether he had a moral obligation as the president of all Kenyans to show up for a debate, regardless of, you know, who was moderating it, or whether he felt it was fair or not, that as the president of all, he should have been there, vis-a-vis him being a candidate like any other, and having the rights, I suppose, of every candidate to demand a platform that he believes would be fair and unbiased and favorable towards him as any candidate would. Which do you think the president would have been showing up to the debate as the president of the republic at that stage, meaning that he must, I suppose, you know, forsake some of his own rights and privileges and take that moral obligation, or as the candidate then who had a right to demand certain things before showing up? Mark?
You know, and there are a number of things that we need to look at. First of all, let's look at the history of Kenyan debates, because these are the third presidential debates that we've held in this country, okay? Now, if you remember the second presidential debates of 2013, candidate Uhuru Kenyatta did say that he wanted certain changes to the questions that could be asked. Now, if you remember, he showed up last minute and surprised everyone, if I think my memory serves me correctly. Now, the reality of the matter, anyone who looks back at that debate understands that candidate Uhuru was asked very, very difficult questions. He was asked the issue about ICC then, and he said it is a personal challenge which he will deal with personally. The second thing that we remember from that debate is when he was asked the land question and how come his family owns a lot of land, he said willing buyer, willing seller, which are terms, by the way, we've used consistently for the last 5 years, by the way. So the reality of the matter, in my view, Uhuru as a debater in any panel has always had a stellar performance, one. Secondly, we need to separate the importance of an election versus the tradition we accept as a country. Because when we say that strategically it has no impact on voters, are we then saying that in the tradition and the morality of our nation that we want to breed a leadership that doesn't want to debate? I don't think that is what we want to build. So let's separate issues. Yes, it may be true, and I'm saying a clear maybe, that it has no impact on these particular elections, but that maybe also has a caveat in the sense that we have an election that is 50 plus 1 vote.
So it sounds to me like you're saying then he would have been showing up as president and had a moral obligation to support a certain tradition.
Exactly, because as a president of a democratic nation, it is your duty to support democratic processes. One of which
is a debate of democratic process.
I'm finishing, I'm getting to that. One of the key tenets of democracy is the ability of leaders to be accountable on multiple platforms other than just parliament, other than just what is required by law. So in my view, to be honest with you, I think we would be lying to the president of this country if we as analysts, strategists, and people are commenting about this process did not tell him that strategically speaking, attending the debate is not just good for the elections, but it is good for our legacy that he will leave. Because in 2022, what will we do? Will we have candidates who will say they are not showing up? Because who then will be incumbent? There will be no one who will be incumbent. So who then will come to the debate and who
all of them to show up? Okay, Dunstan, differentiate for us these two schools of thought. That as a president, he had a moral obligation vis-a-vis the thinking that he was a candidate, and as a candidate if their concerns were you know, the credibility of the platform or the moderators, etc., then he had the right to demand certain rules of engagement and you know, a fair platform.
What I believe in 2013, he attended a debate. There was no commission. It was still the media that organized. Good luck. He won the election. He has had 4.5 years in parliament with the tyrant of numbers. Who stopped the president and Jubilee from passing a law that makes a commission? We could now be having a legal regime dealing with this issue. So the president and his handlers cannot come telling us that there is no commission. It is their prerogative to make that. And I hope those ones who will be elected in 2017 on August, they must make a law dealing with the presidential debates, and these debates must cascade to governors' debates, MCA debates, so that we have a legal framework of debates, because they comply with Article 10 of transparency and accountability. That lacuna, I hope it will be addressed. Number two, it is true the president has explained himself and his party has explained himself that this place, Catholic University where I teach law, it was going to be a slaughterhouse. I agree. It was a trap. Because
a trap by whom? Set by
according to them, they have said it was a trap. I don't know who said, either the media or somebody else. It is true.
The media.
In Kasarani, Kasarani was a political kichinjio. Another kichinjio was set up at Catholic University. If you have no explanations to the questions being asked, you better run away. And that's what the president did. If he had explanations on the questions that were asked to Raila were the same questions that he was going to be asked. Because the simple question was, Raila, did you appoint your relatives to government? Raila defended himself that he only appointed one, which is a lie. That is the same question the president could have been asked. Is his government inclusive? That is a serious kichinjio. So whether, that's what I'm saying, for Jubilee, it was a strategic move because they had no answers to those questions.
Having said that, was he showing up as, should he have shown up as President of the Republic for, you know, as a moral, setting a moral threshold, if you like? It's about tradition, you know, and the future of this democracy 50 years from now, or would he have been there as a candidate, and therefore as a candidate
he was going to be there.
Things?
He was going to be there as a candidate of Jubilee that formed government through a manifesto that people bought. Remember, Uhuru was never elected as Uhuru Kenyatta. He was elected as a president, as a candidate for Jubilee. Raila Odinga, when he appeared at Catholic University, he didn't appear as Raila Odinga. He appeared as the presidential candidate for NASA. NASA and Jubilee is a totality of an entity called a political party. So what people wanted to know is, did Jubilee live to its manifesto that they sold to Kenyans in 2013? What is NASA going to do different? So anybody who is narrowing the debate to two individuals misses it. It is the totality. It is not Raila Odinga's policies that were being investigated. It is the totality of NASA. Because when you form government, government is a massive thing. It is not an individual's wish. So the only issue that people wanted to interrogate outside this as individuals is temperament. Are these people able to be the chief, the commander-in-chief of the Kenyan Armed Forces?
But not just temperament. I think quite a lot of people have said this is about accountability. You know, you show up and you have, you know, like you said, it's not a sermon. You're going to be interrogated on policy positions, etc., and performance. Having said that, though, and we heard earlier from the clip with Kamotho Waiganjo, the lawyer, saying, you know, debates are not the ultimate theater of accountability. Charles, is that your position, that if it's about being accountable, debate would not be the ultimate theater for that?
Well, when we look at it on the perspective of accountability, then I will not agree with the lawyer Waiganjo, because I think this is one platform where you come and articulate your issues and present yourselves to Kenyans, because this is then where Kenyans get an opportunity to interrogate probably the policy issues that you present to Kenyans. But now, going back to the issue of, I want to disagree when we want to look at it as a debate. It has not yet reached the level of being a democratic tradition in Kenya, because as Wakili Nelson says here, that we need to have a legal framework to make it as a commission. Then when it becomes like that, then we have a legal framework that governs it and creates a level playing field where everybody comes there and the debate becomes truly a democratic practice, because it is governed through democratic processes. But when you look at the debates that has just been concluded, all aspirants, all of them, had concerns. In fact, there was a total no-show except for one during the running mates debate, and including the NASA deputy president never showed up, and even the NASA candidates had concerns prior meaning that there were issues which were there. So when you look at it, is that there is lack of democracy in the organization of the debate as it is now, and it therefore does not qualify to be a democratic practice or a tradition. But if we give it a good framework that governs it and gives it a proper legal framework that will then make it something that if I come, I know I will not be disadvantaged vis-a-vis the other, then we can say it has become a proper platform of accountability to Kenyans.
Okay, so therefore it is not.
It is not
in
at
the
the
current
moment.
context.
The current context, it is not, because the concerns that were raised by the various aspirants, the candidates, were not addressed. And back to the issue of President Kenyatta, I do not think there is any time that President Kenyatta abdicates his position as president. In fact, if he was to offer himself to the debate, he will be asked questions based on his performance as president. Therefore, you cannot say it is candidate Kenyatta and then when you leave, now you become President Kenyatta. It is President Kenyatta who is the incumbent and is the president. Therefore, he comes there as a president. He had a responsibility, but we seem to agree that there was strategic wisdom in him not coming. So I hope that one rests for now. But going forward, I think one of the things I like to add is that I agree with Dunstan that going forward, the next biggest thing that needs to be done is to put in place a framework to ensure that it is the debate becomes a practice that is governed by law, and then that way we shield it from these discomforts around, especially the private commercial interest that is being bandied around. We may not be so sure about them, but they are there definitely, because the company organizing is a private company.
All right, let me ask you the same, Mark. Would this debate have been the ultimate theater of accountability in this election?
Of course not. Accountability in any democratic process is a process. It is not a one event thing. In fact, to just bring this into perspective, the presidency is an office. Now, to understand how many dimensions a president has, when he goes home, he cannot be a president to his wife. You understand? He does not cease his office to be a father to his children. So let's understand that it's possible to hold more than one role in the functions of life. You know, I'm not an analyst at home.
You can walk and chew gum.
Yes,
okay.
I can't sit at home and tell my son, now let me analyze your homework. You know,
maybe you should.
There's diversity. You understand what I mean?
Right.
But that being said, my argument here is this. Yes, in terms of strategicness, as Dunstan has said, of course, as an incumbent, when you're going into the debate, you have more to lose than the guy who's coming from the outside. That is always the case. But my argument is this, and I hope Kenyans hear me, that the work of a strategist, okay, is to prepare the candidate for the worst case scenario. You need to be able to answer the hardest questions possible.
Right.
Otherwise, it's not the failure of the candidate, it's a failure of his strategies. And the reality is, and I've worked for various presidential campaigns, and I'm telling you, the candidates will sit us down and tell us, by the way, last year I had an affair and I have a baby. If the news knows this, I'll be in trouble.
Right.
So we have to prepare for worst case scenarios. That's one. Secondly, on the question of tradition, the reality of the matter is, there is no tradition that starts off on the right footing. There are a number of challenges that are presented. The role of leadership is to overcome these challenges, not to avoid and vacate the whole responsibility altogether. So where do we need to come to? As a nation, we need to come to a place where we stop just thinking about August 8th as the be-all and end-all of our existence. At the end of the day, today, I know there are churches, there are NGOs, there are all these kinds of people who are having debates for MCAs, for MPs, for all sorts of people, so that we can have leadership.
But having said that, because of the stakes, I beg your pardon, of a presidential debate, and you've talked about responsibility, would his responsibility therefore have been to attend a debate organized by private entities, or would his responsibility then have been to, if you're talking about the responsibility of a president, to attend a debate organized by a national commission?
Well, you see, that's an excellent question. And
thank you.
You're quite brilliant. The reason why that question is actually very interesting, because it goes to the core of the matter. You see, when you're running for presidency, you know, weirdly enough, you're also president of the people in committee. That means a prisoner in committee has the right to ask Wainaina, to ask Ekuru Aukot, to ask Raila Odinga, to tell them what will be the conditions of the guilty in this nation who are in prison. You understand?
Right.
So the reality of the matter, who has organized the debate, is a secondary question. And I'll tell you why. It is a secondary question because as a leader, if you're going to come to my house and I highly dislike you, I'm going to ask you questions that are unfavorable to you. What is the purpose of being a leader? It is being able to come above those expectations. And Mandela showed this. When Mandela came in to be president and he's being interviewed and being asked, what will you do for the black people, in a way to mean what will you do against the white people. When Mandela spoke and said that I will pursue peace, and yet that question was a setup, it has become a standard for the world over. So leadership is not about avoiding being ambushed by questions. Leadership is actually about the ability to rise above those questions.
All right, and I thank you all for your great views this hour. In the next hour, even as we kick it off, let's start by taking you live to Safari Park here in Nairobi, where the acting Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, is meeting diplomats on the state of security ahead of the polls.
To support the IEBC to conduct the general elections. And we have made this point, which I make all the time. It is not the responsibility of government to conduct elections. Our constitution is probably clearest on this matter. It is the responsibility of the IEBC to conduct elections. Our responsibility as the security sector is to support the IEBC or to facilitate the IEBC to deliver on its constitutional mandate. And that is all we have been doing. The plans that we have made, whether it's in deployment, the resources that we have put aside, the assets that we have arranged, and the mapping we have done of the country, is all intended to facilitate the IEBC. We have correspondence with the IEBC. They have requested us on what they would need in terms of conducting the elections, where they need 2 police officers, 1 police officer, and so on and so forth. We've worked with them on that. It is their responsibility. We support them. We think they are a fantastic organization. They've done their best. And they're good Kenyans who are committed to delivering on their constitutional mandate, as it were. And we too, on our part, as the responsible government, are doing our part to support them and facilitate them so that they can conduct a free and fair election. That is basically what this meeting was all about. And you know, a number of Kenya's friends who are represented in this meeting here are also interested, for good reasons, that we carry on a free, fair and credible election. And they express themselves to that extent. A number of others of Kenya's friends are already working and supporting various aspects of the electoral process. There are some who are working with civil society organizations to support the voter education programs. There are some that are already working with the IEBC on enhancing voter education, strengthening the capacities of IEBC, and so on and so forth. And it was important for them to also hear from the national government on our planning and the support that we are going to provide to the IEBC to be able to deliver on their constitutional mandate. So we wish them well. And as always, the reason why my colleague is here is because, you know, the diplomatic community links up through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. And they also, in matters of security, they link up through the diplomatic police. And that's why Mr. Kitili is here, our Deputy Inspector General of Police. So we've had a fantastic meeting, and I'm so grateful. And Your Excellency, as I said in there, we're very grateful for the support that Kenya continues to receive from its friends. We are grateful for the friendship that we enjoy with a huge number of Kenya's friends worldwide. And we've had a fantastic meeting with them. And Your Excellency, we will continue engaging, because that's what we said. A meeting took place in June. This is another briefing, and we will continue to engage with Kenya's friends on matters electoral. It was open, a transparent meeting where we discussed very candidly. They raised all the issues that they wanted to raise with us. They just wanted to understand our plan. Do we have a plan? Yes. How will it work? We explained our multi-agents collaboration within the security sector, the assets we are planning to avail at the disposal of IEBC. That's basically what it was all about. And we are grateful. We've had a very fruitful discussion, as it was. It was basically a routine engagement, as any government would engage with its development partners. Thank you. Thank you very much. No. Thank you. Thank you very much. But please, that was not the subject of this meeting. I would like all of us to be disciplined, the people who deal with. And don't forget, you know, we are public servants. There are certain things we do according to the law, and there's a law that guides us on how we work. And so I'm not going to engage in those kinds of issues. Thank you very much. What about travel of advisors?